This is how I made a track for an Apple commercial. Well, it's not officially in one yet, but it will be soon. And if you're a producer who's been struggling to make beat sales or an artist who's trying to reach a wider audience, watch to the end of this video cause I'm gonna teach you how today you can get started with sync licensing with just the songs that are already on your hard drive. And I'm also gonna break down one of my tracks where I'll give you 3 easy tips that'll make any of your songs more attractive to music supervisors. And those are the people you're gonna wanna please. But before we begin, make sure you leave a like, hit subscribe to follow my freelance journey every Friday, and leave a comment and tell me what your favorite song from a commercial is. Alright, let's get into it. So my journey with sync licensing started only about 2 years ago, where I was at a networking event with my girlfriend, and I randomly bumped into a woman who is a co-founder for a sync licensing / publishing agency. We hit it off, and after a couple weeks decided to get coffee one day, and there she mentioned that one of her head composers would be a great fit to mentor me. And then for the next couple months, I would send him some of my tracks and he would give me feedback, and he would also give me old briefs to work on as homework and study what real composers are working on a day-to-day. And briefs are the documents that music supervisors or sync agencies will send out to their composers with all the details that are needed for a specific track. It's basically like the job listing for a specific track. It'll have what genre, it'll have what kind of media it's gonna be in, it'll have general references that you might wanna look at for inspiration, any information that a composer will need to make a track or dig into their vault to find a track that a music supervisor will be looking for. Then my mentor got really busy because he's, working on Super Bowl commercials and doing really cool stuff for like the past 6 months or so, or probably longer than that. And on my own, I've been doing pretty good, just studying the basics and building up my portfolio. And the best way that I've studied the basics is to pay attention to every commercial break on TV, watch every ad on YouTube, any jingles you hear on the radio, pay attention to the TV and movies that you watch. Next time, look at the credits and see who are the musicians actually making this music, cause I bet 9 times out of 10, they're just regular musicians like you and me. That's the one really awesome thing about sync licensing, is that you don't have to be famous or have a brand to really pop off. It's one of the few parts of the industry where your music is the only thing that matters. I've noticed that the only real difference between music that you hear on the radio or music that you'd hear in a TV show is the arrangement. So let's get to the breakdown and I'll show you how to make a track for sync yourself. So in my last video, I also broke down a beat, but sync licensing is the same beast, but a different animal. And there are 3 things I've learned over this past year that make a track syncable. Number 1 is setting a vibe. Your job as a composer for commercial music is to understand the identity of the brand and create a sonic landscape that their product or service can exist within. Like, you're probably not going to hear country music in an Apple commercial because Apple commercials are all about being cutting edge and being modern and sleek, and country music just doesn't fit that vibe. Just like you're most likely not going to hear heavy metal in a diaper commercial. No offense to anyone who puts Disturbed on to help their baby fall asleep. So I really encourage that when you're watching a commercial, pay attention to what genres are used with which products, what kind of sound selection is used, and what kind of instrumentation, what kind of arrangement, because that all plays a factor into setting the vibe. Number 2, sync tracks are rarely ever stagnant. Because these tracks are like 30 seconds to a minute long, you need to get to the point quickly and keep the audience engaged by having an ever-evolving arrangement. Like, I was explicitly told by my mentor that you should not have anything loop for more than 4 bars. Whether it's just adding a little sound effect here or there, maybe changing up the octave of a chord progression, always change something. But I'll go into that more in the breakdown. Now, number 3 is probably the most crucial thing to getting your song used. You need to end on what they call a sting. Whether it's the hit of a kick, a crash, end on the 1 chord, something to signify that the song is done. This is to make the job of the editor of the commercial or the TV show a lot easier, because it gives them a point where they know the song ends and it's an easier transition into the next cue. And one thing I noticed a lot as I've been studying commercials is they all end on a hit. And I'll show you more how I built mine in the breakdown. Anyway, let's get to it. So this track is based mostly on atmospheric pop. I'll give you a little taste. Hear that sting? So this one was a lot of fun to make. I made it a couple weeks ago. There's another thing I'll mention. Loops and splice loops are a real gray area when it comes to sync licensing. For me, as long as the main chordal and percussive elements are made by me, I see it as fine. You know, I have a lot of little vocal chops, and I have these like tambourine percussion loops, but they're just in the background. So the main worry is that they're going to be picked up by like Content ID on YouTube or anything like that, and these companies won't be able to monetize their videos or their ads or whatever. Splice is royalty free, so there really should be no issue there. So that's why I still use them. There are some supervisors, agencies, libraries that won't use tracks that use royalty free loops. So just be aware of that. But let's get into it. So the main crux of this is this pad. Very atmospheric. I feel like it sounds very future-y and modern. That's the kind of vibe I get from it. And this pad is a pad from Labs. It's just their basic synth pad. But where the fun comes in is this lifter. I've noticed that a lot of EDM elements are prevalent in commercial music, specifically in tech companies. I think because, you know, EDM is the electronic music, makes you think of progress, makes you think of it keeps driving forward. There's all these little things that, you know, add to making a song fit a certain brand's aesthetic. And so I also have these really cool vocal chops that I also got from Splice. So as you notice, pretty much I go by that rule. Every 4 bars something changes. Starts off with the pads, and then we go into bringing the lifter, and then when we get to finally the meat of it, you have this. Now, I don't really add much more to it throughout these 8 bars, but I feel like the melody in this is just so cool that it'll carry. It changes up enough. Yeah. These sounds are from my new favorite VST that I've found, and it's by Teletone Audio called Scarbo. Weird name, but they have the most unique synth pads I've ever heard. So you can find a lot of really cool sounds with this, and this is where I get a lot of my, you know, sound designy commercial sounds. So this is what it sounds like soloed. I just kind of use this to balance out the main melody that I created. I love how these synths sound so lo-fi and vintage, but all together with the pad and the driving, you know, EDM kind of percussion, it sounds so modern. So usually by the halfway point, that's when I like to spice things up a bit. I add this little laser sound effect. Once again, very futuristic, you know, that sci-fi laser sound. And I like to see all this within the meat of my project. Ayo. I like to see these little sounds as waking up the audience, because maybe they get bored by just hearing this loop for 8 bars. So to keep things interesting, I add in these sound effects as some ear candy. And also the percussion evolves a lot in this section. So It starts off with just this, and then and then the claps come in, and it makes it a lot more fun, makes more energetic. The point of this, I want the energy to keep building, keep growing. Once you think it's fun enough, make it even more fun. You know, give them even more stuff to dance to, even more to get them interested, get them excited. You want to evoke an emotional response, and to me, this beat is just the epitome of fun. And then also, I brought back these vocal chops just to round out the beat. It's a little callback to the intro. This is what made this so special to me, and this is why I need this to get this in a commercial. Honestly, Apple, any tech commercial, because this build-up is fire. I'll play the build-up one more time for you guys. Yo, I'm about to become an EDM producer from this. So this riser is built up of like 3 different things. It's this snare loop that I found on Splice. That is just classic EDM riser. I found this longer, very atmospheric. It's actually titled Stardust, and that's kind of where I got the idea to call this track Breathing Starlight. It just reminds you of, for me, it feels like you're flying through space, and that's how I wanted this riser to feel like. Even just that is like, gets that good energy to it. And then I added in this other sound to thicken it up a bit. I went for an anti-drop with this. Another very important section of a commercial cue is the silence. In every commercial, just pay attention. In every commercial, there is a section where the instrumentation drops out to build anticipation or just to give your ears a break. And for that, I created this. This is another 3-layered thing. So the first one is this classic synth downer. And then I found this knocking kind of like metal sound. That's another, element. Metal, futuristic. Metal reminds you of technology. So it all fits in, to the vibe. This is another really wide atmospheric downer. And you bring it in. It fades away. Then you bring it back. You bring them back to it. You wake them up. Much like, before, 8 bars before, 4 bars before, 8 bars before, when I woke them up with this laser sound, I'm gonna wake them up again with this clap, like riser swish clap sound that I thought was really cool. And then, the rest of the beat, you just kind of ride it out. These last couple seconds are just about bringing it all home. And much like how I kept it evolving, the clap pattern actually changes in this last couple seconds to help signify that it's ending. The most important thing, the sting. And stings are very easy to make. I always, so in this case, I just ended it on a C, the in 1 chord. And also, I ended before the 30-second mark. That's another thing. So this sting happens at like 55 seconds, and the commercial's like a minute long. So usually you want to end your sting before, so it gives time for the sting to ring out, and you don't want your track to end right at 30 seconds. You want to give it time to breathe and to finish out naturally. There are some I've seen that have ended right at 30 seconds, but that's pretty much the whole breakdown. I hope this breakdown showed you that making tracks for sync does not have to be hard, doesn't have to be daunting. All it really could take is just tweaking the arrangement of an existing beat or song, add a sting, add a couple more risers, and you're golden. And if you want to see more sync breakdowns, leave a comment below. And now that you know how to make a track for sync, I'll let yesterday's Myles tell you a little bit more how to get it out into the world. So now you have a couple tracks that are ready for sync. What's next? So by now you fixed up a couple old tracks, maybe even made a couple new ones, and they're ready for sync. They set the tone for a specific vibe, they're not boring, and they keep changing throughout, and they also have a sting at the end to tie everything up in a nice bow. And this is where things get complicated and require a lot of patience. You can't just DM Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, and send him a beat pack. That's not how this works. There are a couple very big gatekeepers in this industry that it will very much benefit you to befriend. But so far, everyone I've talked to in this industry, from music supervisors to heads of agencies, are so nice and so willing to hear new music. These people so far are the biggest music lovers I have ever met in the music industry. The head honchos that you really want to get in their good graces are music supervisors. These are the people who work for ad agencies or they're hired out by production companies to pretty much be in charge of getting all the music together for a certain project. And you can email these guys directly. A lot of them are on LinkedIn or IMDb or found a lot on Instagram, and they are very friendly but busy, so it may take them a while to get back to you or respond to your email, if they respond at all. But I guess an easier way that a lot of musicians go is through sync agencies or music libraries. Once you strike a deal with a library, you pretty much submit your tracks in albums or in singles, whatever is best for them. They basically will sit in this company's pile of music. And there's a lot of trusted companies out there. I'll leave a couple links in the description. And music supervisors will browse their catalog whenever they need music for a project. And also libraries will often ask their composers to fill in gaps wherever they're needed. If they're a library that has a lot of rap music, maybe they'll ask for more pop music, or maybe they'll ask for more EDM. And from what I've noticed, sync agencies work a lot more like publishing companies. They'll assemble their team of composers. You often have to pitch yourself, or they'll seek you out if you have a little bit of buzz around you, or maybe they'll even seek you out if you have a popular enough platform. They'll pretty much pitch your music to these music supervisors when the briefs come in and they feel like your music will be a good fit for it. And that's why I'm building my portfolio right now. I'm about 5 tracks in and I'm pretty excited about it. But the best place I found to network with these people is at conferences and events. They're often held in bigger cities. Like I went to one in New York last year, and then the year before that I went to one in Chicago, and they were both amazing, and I met a lot of awesome people within the commercial music space. Okay, so once again, the sun is setting real fast, so I'll just wrap this up by saying sync licensing is an amazing way to get your voice heard, get your music out there without the pressures of trying to be an artist. It definitely helps out and it could really elevate your brand if that's what you're trying to do. But I feel like if your focus is on just making really good music and you're willing to be able to let it go, I think sync licensing in the world of commercial music specifically could be for you. Thank you so much for watching. My goal is to hit 10 subscribers by the end of the month, so it would mean the world to me if you just hit subscribe. And once again, leave a comment and tell me what your favorite song from a commercial is. Mine specifically is this one Apple commercial. It's black and white and this dude is like moonwalking on the walls, and it was the coolest thing to me when I was in high school. And I never forgot that, and that really is what sparked my mind to be like, wow, commercials are really cool. So thank you for following me on my journey, and I'll see you next Friday.